Yes, today in solid state of standard 12, I am going to discuss band theory. What is band theory? I'll explain now. Band theory. You know, students, in metallic crystals, large number of metal atoms are present. The atomic orbitals of these metal atoms mutually combine and they form molecular orbitals. These molecular orbitals are so closely spaced that they form a continuous band, and that is known, so then it is named as band theory. Again I am explaining what happens in metallic crystals. Large number of metal atoms are present, like 10 to the power 21 metal atoms are present. More metal atoms are present. Then what happens? These metal atoms, they combine to form atomic orbitals of these metal atoms combine to form molecular orbital, and these molecular orbitals mutually combine these molecular orbitals are so closely spaced that they form a energy band. So the theory is named as band theory. See, I am taking example of lithium. Suppose you are taking the example of lithium. Lithium is having electronic configuration 1s2, 2s1 and 2p0. And now in lithium crystal what happens? N lithium atom is having N 1s orbitals, which is having 2 electrons. These electrons mutually combine and they form these atomic orbitals mutually combine and they form a continuous energy band of 1s, and which contains 2 electrons. Now this 2s orbital, here you can show it like this way. This 2s orbital of lithium, it is containing only 1 electron. So n2s orbital atomic orbitals are mutually combining to form molecular orbital which are so closely spaced. This molecular orbital is half filled. Since this 2s is containing only 1 electron, it is half filled, so it is also half filled. Now again n2p orbital, it is completely vacant, it is not having any electron. It is also combining and it is forming a completely vacant orbital. Okay, so what I am telling, in this metallic crystal, the atomic orbitals of metal atoms mutually combine to form atomic orbitals of metal atoms combine to form molecular orbitals. These molecular orbitals are so closely spaced that they form a continuous energy band, that is, so it is named as band theory. Now here we can see that the 1s energy band of lithium is completely filled and the 2s energy band of lithium is partially filled, and 2p energy band of lithium is completely vacant. Now what this 2s energy band of lithium is known as valence band, and 2p energy band is known as conduction band. Now in this lithium crystal, these 2p and 2s are so closely spaced that they mutually combine. They are overlapping. So the electrons from 2s, they can also move to 2p energy band. Okay. Now I will explain the main concept which we can understand by this band theory, that is conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. What are these conductors? Conductors are those substances or those metals, you can say, which conducts electricity. Conductors are the substances which conducts electricity easily. So here the conductors, how it is conducting electricity? For metals, the conduction is possible due to movement of electrons. Now with this band theory, I will explain how will be the energy band of conductors, semiconductors and insulators. In case of conductors, the energy band of conduction band and valence band are very closely spaced. They are so closely spaced that they rather overlap each other. What? It is overlapping each other. So the electrons from valence band easily moves to conduction band. So electricity flows through it. Lithium, with the help of lithium crystal I am explaining. You see, the lithium is good conductor. Since the electron are present in 2s band of lithium, that can easily move to 2p band, which is conduction band, and due to movement of this free electron, it conducts electricity. So according to band theory, what we can say, that for conductors, the energy band between conduction band and valence band is so less. Energy difference between valence band and conduction band is so less that the electrons can easily move from valence band to conduction band, so it conducts electricity. Now, you may ask one question, what is the meaning of valence band and conduction band? Valence band means the band which contains electrons, last band which contains electrons, and conduction band is next vacant band. So in case of conductors, these two bands mutually overlap or they are very closely spaced. So the electrons from valence band moves easily to conduction band. So it conducts electricity. Conductors. For conductors, this will be the scenario. Now, for semiconductors, the energy band between valence band and conduction band is more than these conductors. They have small energy gap, but it is more than these conductors. So some electrons may flow from valence band to conduction band. So it conducts electricity to a small extent. So this is semiconductors. The band between the energy band between valence band and conduction band in case of semiconductor is less. So sometimes by heating, also some electrons flows from valence band to conduction band. So it conducts electricity to a small extent. And last one is what? Last one is insulators. Insulators are the substance where through which the electricity do not flow. That we all know, that the substance through which electricity do not flow, they are insulators. Now the energy band between conduction band and energy difference between conduction band and valence band is very large. So no electron flows from valence band to conduction band. So it do not conduct electricity. And this energy gap is known as forbidden zone. Forbidden zone. So it's clear to you, conductor, semiconductors and insulators. For these three, the band is through this band theory I have explained. Okay. Now we'll understand another thing, that is there are two types of semiconductors. One is extrinsic semiconductor. Extrinsic semiconductor. Another is intrinsic semiconductor. Semiconductor which I have explained, that is intrinsic semiconductor, means it is conducting electricity to a small extent, but if you are heating it, any substance or any metal, or if you are heating, then if the electricity flows through that substance more, then that type of substance is known as intrinsic semiconductor. Another type which I will discuss, that is extrinsic semiconductor. Extrinsic semiconductor, how it is formed? If you dope certain element with certain elements, then that results into another type of semiconductor, that is known as extrinsic semiconductors. All of us know that group 14 elements like silicon, germanium, all these are semiconductors. We can increase the conductivity of these semiconducting metals by doping it with elements of some other group. Now we'll understand that. There are two types of semiconductor. One is N-type semiconductor, another is P-type. If you dope the silicon or germanium, it is of which group? Group 14. If you are doping it with elements of group 15, what I am telling, if you are doping it with elements of group 15 like phosphorus, arsenic, nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, bismuth, these are the elements of group 15. So if you are taking phosphorus or arsenic and if you are doping it with it, then what will happen? This silicon is having 4 electrons in its valence shell. Silicon, germanium, all are having 4 electrons in its valence shell, and these elements are having 5 electrons in its valence shell. So what will happen? These phosphorus or arsenic or any other member of group 15 will form 4 bond with this silicon and 1 electron will be free. 4 plus 1 you can write. These 4 electrons will be engaged in forming 4 bond with the parent atom and 1 electron will be free. This free electron movement will result in the conduction of electricity, and this type of semiconductor is known as N-type semiconductor. Okay. So sometimes people may ask you, which is responsible for conduction of electricity in N-type? Flow of electrons, free electrons. The element with which you are doping, that is having one more extra electron in its valence shell, and that is not forming a bond, that is free, and movement of that electron causes conduction of electricity. Now we'll understand this P-type semiconductor. Student, again I am taking group 14. Group 14 element like silicon, germanium. These elements, when these elements are doped with group 13 elements, Boron, aluminium, gallium, indium, thallium, we know. These are the elements of group 13. Now, if you are doping it with boron or gallium, anything of group 13, okay, boron or gallium of group 13, then what will happen? This is having 4 electron and this is having 3 electron. This is having 4 electron in valence shell and it is having 3 electron in valence shell. So what will happen? There will be 3 complete bond and 1 incomplete bond. So one bond is incomplete. So what will happen? The electron from this neighbor will move to this incomplete bond and will create a vacancy over there. There will be a creation of electron deficiency. That will be that we say that there will be creation of a hole. 3 bond, see, germanium is forming 3 bond with boron and 1 incomplete bond. So there is a vacancy, there is a vacant space, and where it is lacking of 1 electron, then what happens? The electron from its neighbor moves to it to complete its bond. Now what will happen? Electron from neighbor will move to here also and will create vacancy over here. So there will be movement of electrons and that will create holes in the crystal. So this says, it says that for p-type semiconductor is due to creation of holes. N-type semiconductor is due to flow of electrons and p-type semiconductor is due to creation of holes. Okay. Now we'll discuss another property, that is magnetic properties. Magnetic properties. Magnetic properties. Magnetic properties in the substance is due to the presence of electrons, and these electrons behave as a tiny magnet. Why do it behave as a tiny magnet? Because electrons have spin motion and orbital motion. So due to this it behaves as a tiny magnet. So how it interacts with the external magnetic field, that creates magnetic property in the substance. Now we'll understand the types of magnetic substances. Diamagnetic, type of magnetic substance, diamagnetic, then paramagnetic, then ferromagnetic, antiferromagnetic, and last one is ferrimagnetic. How many magnetic substances are there? Types of magnetic substances: diamagnetic substance, paramagnetic substance, ferromagnetic substance, antiferromagnetic substance, and ferrimagnetic substance. Now you have heard about diamagnetic and paramagnetic before also, in standard 11 also. Let us recall that. Diamagnetic substance are the substance which are weakly repelled by external magnetic field. This diamagnetic substance contains paired electrons. And paramagnetic substance? Paramagnetic substance are attracted by external magnetic field. This paramagnetic substance contains unpaired electrons. So these two are clear. having unpaired electrons, and this is paired electrons. Okay. Now what I am telling, it is repelled by external magnetic field, it is attracted by external magnetic field. Now our next topic is ferromagnetic, antiferro and ferrimagnetic. See, metal ions are grouped together. They are known as domains. What I am telling, that metal ions grouped together, they are known as domains. In ferromagnetic substance, in the domains, all the electrons are aligned in the same direction. They are containing unpaired electrons and all the electrons are aligned in the same direction. So it behaves as a strong magnet. In antiferro, what happens? It contains unpaired electron, but in the domains, what happens? The electrons are aligned in the equally in the opposite direction. So it mutually cancels out the magnetic moment, and so here we can see that its magnetic moment is zero. It is having unpaired electron, but it is not having, its magnetic moment is zero. Next is ferromagnetic substance. Ferromagnetic substance, it contains unpaired electron, but in the metal ions, the electrons are unequally aligned in the same direction. Means, see here I have taken an example. 4 are aligned in this upward direction, so 2 are aligned in the downward direction. So these type of substance are known as ferrimagnetic substance. Here in metal ions, the electrons are aligned in opposite direction. Here electrons, all the electrons in the domains are aligned in the same direction. So these we have studied: diamagnetic, paramagnetic, ferromagnetic, antiferromagnetic and ferrimagnetic substances. So we'll discuss the examples of these various types of magnetic substances. Diamagnetic substance. Diamagnetic substance, example TiO2, titanium oxide, sodium chloride, zinc, then N2, nitrogen. Paramagnetic substance, example you see O2, NO, cobalt, nickel, iron. Then ferromagnetic, iron, cobalt, nickel, gadolinium, CrO2. Next, antiferromagnetic substance, MnO4. MnO. Ferrimagnetic substances, Fe3O4 and AmFe2O4, where Am is magnesium, copper or zinc. Okay.